It's just Bruce, he don't bite. Hello.
All right, guys, this is part 2 of tips on my reusable molding compound. Here is a couple of years later, 2 years since I actually put the recipe up there how to make the reusable molding compound. If you saw part 1, you know what I'm talking about. It's in the description how to make your own reusable molding compound, just like this. This is a mold getting ready to be poured. I did it to save money. So if you saw the first part, you understand it's made from stuff from the grocery store. This batch here has also lasted 2 years. I said 1 year in the part 1 video, but I just checked the last video, which, wow. My videos haven't gotten much better, have they? And neither has my talking. Anyway, part 2 is about, we're going to actually demold what we poured. I'm sorry, now we're going to pour. See what I mean? I'm probably going to leave that part out. Part 2 is about pouring the actual molds, and I have a couple tips for you in this one too. Hopefully it makes your life easier and cheaper, especially around these holidays, because a lot of people like to do this craft around the holidays, make Christmas ornaments or, you know, little gifts and stuff like that. So I hope this helps, and there will be a part 3 also. I noticed, well, if you don't notice, part 2 is being uploaded the exact same day as part 1. So go back and watch part 1, and then come back and see me here at part 2. As far as how to make the reusable molding compound, it's in the description here, as long as I don't forget. If I did forget, go back to part 1 and the link's in that one. I know, I'm stupid. Anyway, let's pour these molds. All right, so I decided that I'm going to go ahead and videotape my pouring tonight because I got 4 molds to pull, and they were all in the refrigerator, cut them all out. I got 2 action figures and 2 special parts for a toy that I sell on Jenner Custom Toys on eBay. So I'm just going to go ahead and do it. I'll fast forward through the boring parts, and we'll do this together, and we'll see the outcome. And yeah. But in the meantime, I got my 2-part resin, clear resin only on the reusable molding compound. I got some water here that I heated up in the microwave, and I got a plastic cup. This is a large volume pour that I'm going to do. I don't do this very often, but I would like to get done so I can go to bed because it's late and I'm tired. So we're going to go a full container of the clear resin. It may or may not be enough to pour all of what we want today, but we're going to give it a try. See what I can get. We'll pour some more. Like I said, I will fast forward through the boring parts. Part B, same thing, equal amount. Glug, 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 glug. I'm actually using a new brand tonight. That the normal brand I use, which is Lumelite, I couldn't get. So we're using today. I don't even know how to say this. Looks like Bizarine, maybe. First time using it too, so we're exploring tonight. So I got my one part. Let's combine them. This is where I'm going to skip through. This is contaminated now because I use the same stick to scrape it out. So I'm just going to throw this little shot glass away. I'll use a new one next time. And now we mix. Now if you can see on the camera, there's a lot of bubbles in there. I'm not much worried about it. And this is a technique I've been using, and I've realized that it actually works better to get the bubbles out before I pour than to just count on my pressure pot or my vacuum chamber, depending on which one I choose to use. So what I do is I will take this plastic cup, I'll sit it in my hot water, and I'll leave that sit there for about 6 or 7 minutes. And you'll notice the difference whenever you go to mix it again because the viscosity gets thinner. it was harder to stir when I was mixing it, but once this warms up, you'll notice it's much easier to stir. And I'm going to give it one last stir, but then I'm going to let it sit for about 5 minutes. That's why I like working with the clear resin. It's not a 10-minute resin, so you don't have to be in a hurry to do it. This is going to cure overnight when it's all said and done. So we're just going to let it sit there for about 5 minutes, and I'll show you how the bubbles all come out at first. And we'll continue from there. But I'm just going to go ahead and fast forward through this. So, it's been about 5 or 6 minutes, and you can see my resin's ready to pour. It's in the hot water here. I'm going to dry off the bottom because you don't want to mix water with any kind of resin. Doesn't matter what kind you use. I'm going to dry off the bottom. Now it's ready to pour. And if you can see in the camera, it looks, well, it's not really showing up so well. But if you can see, a lot of the big bubbles have gone. They're gone. So I'm going to pour, well, the first thing I want to pour is the pieces parts because I have an order for these. It's a replacement part for a vintage toy. So I'm going to go ahead and pour this. And then I'm going to take the mold and I'm going to bounce it. And that'll get rid of any air bubbles. Oh, it's kind of stuck to my paper. Oh, that's a predicament. Let go, please. Let go, let go, let go, let go, let go. Wow, it's really stuck on there. How'd that happen? Oh, the condensation. That's what did it. All right. All right, so it's okay. Got it up. I'm going to bounce it. And what bouncing it is going to do is get rid of the air bubbles on the bottom. Because that's on this particular piece, which I don't. Oh, here's the piece. This is what I'm making. It's actually a pair of chin guns for a vintage Kenner Star Wars. You see they're connected. This is my actual master mold. But it's sitting this way in the mold, and when I bounce it, it's going to fill those cannons up. So we're going to bounce, 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 bounce. And this is another reason I love using clear resin, because you don't have to be in a hurry for it. I got about 20 minutes to work on it right now. And I'm going to continue filling it. I'm going to start with the other one. This is the same part. Like I said, I will do my best to skip through the boring parts. Now, the amount of resin I have here in this cup probably isn't enough to do all 4 pieces, because these 2 are action figures. So I'm going to make sure I get these pieces parts done first. Oh, that's sticking to the paper too. This one here is full. I want to squeeze it just gently a couple times to make sure I get all the air bubbles out. And that looks good. This one I haven't thumped it yet, so let's thump this one. Always thump your molds. No matter what you're making, you want to thump them. And you don't have to use my reusable molding compound to do that. Even a regular silicone mold, always thump them. It gets the air bubbles out, the big bubbles, so the bottom of your mold will fill up just as good as the top. And I do believe this is going to work just fine. Still got to give a little squeeze. Give a little squeeze. Oh, got an air bubble out there. Little squeeze, little squeeze, little squeeze. Seems to be okay. Now, if you see my video for the reusable molding compound, the first few times you use it, you can see through it. This is the same molding compound that I made on that video, and that was, I'm pretty sure it was over a year ago, and I'm still using it. And I've made a lot of products out of this. After a while, it gets particles in there, and you can't see through it. But by then, you should have enough practice. You know where your item is and know where to thump it, know where to tilt it, which is what I'm going to show you now. It's Like I said, it's still going. That's why I love this molding compound. So, all right, we're going to fill the action figure now. And I always choose 1 foot because I do these upside down. I don't think I'm going to have enough resin to fill the second one. So I'll just skip through that one. But for now, we're just going to fill this guy. Now, I only put a little bit in there because I know the head's down there. And what I want to do is I want to make sure that the chin catches air. Picture it upside down. The chin catches air. I'm going to tilt it forward because here's the feet. The feet are pointing that way. So I want to tilt it forward. And I want to thump it to make sure that chin gets resin in there. Otherwise, you're going to have a big old bubble on the chin. And nobody wants that. It'll ruin your whole thing. Yeah. It's repairable. I think I might have done a video and showed you how I repaired it before, but I'd rather not repair it. I'd rather it come out right the first time. So I'm still doing my thumping. Tilt it back upright. I'm going to give it a minute so it will settle and the bubble that I hopefully got out of the chin works its way up. And I'll fast forward for a minute. And now we're going to finish filling it. I'm just going to do it very slowly, very small flow. Like I said, that's why I like using this resin too. It does take all night to cure, but it gives you time so you can do it right. I don't like rushing. Every time I rush, I end up screwing up stuff. So let's not rush tonight. Let's just do this full, but I'm going to give it a couple more thumps because I know it has some stuff that needs to get the resin in there. And the more resin I can get in there where it belongs, the less grinding I'm going to have to do later. Just makes it easier in the long run. Still working. Time for an action figure or a figurine, whatever you want to call it, because I fill it from 1 foot. That way it goes down, fills the whole mold, comes back up. And when I see it come up through the other foot, then I know it's very close to being done. Still needs a little more. Now, I already know I could look at this and I could see that there's not enough resin in there to do my last figure. But I also noticed that my resin is getting really thick. It's not curing, well, it will cure, but it's not curing at the moment. But what I want to do is I want to finish filling this one, which I'm not done yet. I'm going to put it back in the hot water for about a minute or two, and that'll thin it up and it'll fill my mold better. So we're going to put that in this mold or in this hot water, and we're going to take a little break and wait about a minute or two, and it'll be nice and thin again. And that also gives this mold time to settle, which I could see there's a bubble there. Workable, so to speak. And I'm going to finish off this mold here. You can see it's almost to the top on the second leg. I'm cheating a little bit. I'm dumping some in the second leg. I'm going to put this back in here because I have a little extra. It's not enough to do this figure, but I have another mold that I want to fill, and I don't have it on camera right now, so I'm going to get up and get that. And here, they look like they are doing just fine. I filled them nice. This guy looks fine now. The big air bubbles are gone. This guy didn't put anything in. I'm going to deal with that later. So that's how we do that. And tomorrow, well, we'll rip them apart and see what we got. While it's on my mind, I want to mention to you guys that if you notice on these molds, I'm using masking tape. Where here is a regular silicone mold. In this case, I think this is Umo 30. I used rubber bands to hold it together. Don't use the rubber bands on the reusable molding because I actually, as long as I've been doing this, I make mistakes too. And what I did the other day was I made a really nice mold of something I was trying to cast. And when I went to cast it, I just out of habit, because I've been making a lot of these lately, I put rubber bands on it. And what happened was the rubber bands on this molding compound actually squeezed it and just it sliced it up. It cut it into slices. So yeah, don't use rubber bands. Use masking tape. Painter's tape works. Some kind of light tape just to hold it together. Otherwise, you're gonna ruin the mold. And that's a mistake I made, and I meant to convey that to you guys. So there you go.
It's just Bruce, he don't bite. Hello.